What is up, guys? Welcome to another live session. Today is December 17th, 2019, and we're back. I'm just checking OBS. Green light. Okay, so if it connects today, I'm gonna have to contact their support because we were having a really good session yesterday, and for some reason at the very end it decided to just disconnect on me. And I checked the stream speed; it was all good, so I don't know, but hopefully that's not the case today. And
New visitor.
and a great start to the week. We have pound USD, which is almost at our final take profit. But once again, I was asleep, so I couldn't even enter. Usually I'm awake, but I'm actually in the midst of studying for some exams. And so, it's the long days, getting good sleep. So, but the entry criteria was simple, and it got activated, and it's looking good. But I do want to talk about Euro, because that was a pair we wanted to potentially short, but the entry criteria was not met. But what is interesting about Euro is that range we drew on Friday and then talked about yesterday. You can see its significance, right? You can see it from here, here, and then yesterday we made an initial push, and we came back down, and price is being held by this resistance. And that's a good sign for us. We just want a break of this trend line, and that's why we did not enter just because we were at resistance. You usually want more than one confluence, and so what we want is a break of a trend line to actually identify a trend shift. Because if we got in here, impulsively, we would have got stopped out, and then Euro would have came back in like it did, and then it could have eventually led to a short. So patience for Euro. Today is very quiet in terms of fundamentals. Tomorrow is just pound and some CAD, and then later in the day we have. I have hiccups, my bad. Later in the day we have Aussie employment information. Thursday, again, pound stuff. I think the monetary policy will be the same. Pretty quiet for the rest of the day, and then Friday we have some core retail sales for the CAD, and that's about it. So I don't know what's going to be a catalyst for this, to be honest. It is the last trading week of the year, so it could very well just keep afloat between this support and this resistance, and then in January of 2020, it determines where it wants to go. Maybe January 5th, the second week of January, when everyone's back and the banks are moving again, we could see some movement down here, or a movement above this resistance. But peeking at the daily, it still looks, our idea is still well within lines of what we talked about on Friday's session and Monday. Our descending channel is still intact, and the past few days, the closures have been pretty bearish, very long wicks to the upside. So it is telling me there's sellers there are trying to push this down. What I do think is buyers might make a one last push just to the trend line, the top of the channel, before it comes back down. And we do have a long-term possible target of 1.07300. So Euro it's on pause, but thankfully the resistance is holding it nice and capped. Taking a look at gold, and then we'll look at pound. So gold, very similar story, as in the daily looks the same as yesterday. However, this is why I tell you guys, please do not use sell stops, because during yesterday's session we were up against resistance here, and I told you guys if we break this hourly support, get a closure, a bearish closure, we can enter short. Now if you can see, this 4-hour candle wicked below our supposed entry and snap back up, and so this is why I do not use pending orders or limits. If I'm going to be going to sleep, worst case I will, but I just try to avoid it. So you can see this 1-hour candle snap back down here, snapped all the way back up, and you would have most likely got stopped out on this trade setup. So always wait for that bearish closure. Always don't use pending orders. It's just safer that way. And the 4-hour and the daily still looks pretty bearish. We just need that closure below this hourly support. 1472 will be kind of opening the floodgates down to our target of 1453. And we have our first take profit will be 1465 and then 1459. So idea is still there. We're just going to shift it over and wait for that crucial closure below that level. Not much to say. It depends on how this week goes, to be honest, and the volume. But yesterday we did discuss stats on how much volume decreases during this month from November. And in some periods, it's as high as 60%. So 60% decrease in volume is a lot. You're not going to get the usual movements or any movements that you usually see during the regular parts of the year. So just keep that in mind. We'll just be hopeful that we do get this nice juicy setup. I mean, even an entry from here down to 1465 is 70 nice quick pips. So I'd be fine with that. Looking to the left, when we did have a break, we did go as low as 1459. So there is a lot to be made on this trade, but if you don't get the right entry, you can get burned like right here. So gold still pending. Now pound. Where did it go? Beautiful trade setup and almost at the final take profit. Just absolute beautiful. Not much to say really. Very simple entry criteria from yesterday. This was the UK election reaction. Price came back down, created support. In yesterday's session, we were right above the support. I told you guys a closure below this support will lead us lower. We got that closure. Entry was pretty much right where this candle is. Bada boom, and we're I think 10 pips away from our target of 1.31100. So pretty dope setup, and that is 180 good ones. 180 good pips right there that I missed. I am mad, but usually I'm awake till around 3 a.m. But I was just exhausted from studying, so I had to get some sleep. But just fabulous. This is a fabulous trade, and it was expected just because of the initial reaction to the election results, right? And this was the huge move. This was 250 pips. This one candle. So if you take that into consideration, we were due for some retrace. But this major resistance right here, 133,600, was the major player in pushing pound dollar all the way down. As you can see, the daily. You can see from the daily what a nice significant resistance, and this has capped us pretty much the remainder of the past 2 quarters. So pretty good idea. The daily looks very bearish for pound dollar. Just look at that. Look at that. So for pound, next up is basically a close below 1.31100. Could be very, very significant in terms of just a sell-off. It's panning back to the left. You can see when we did have sell-offs from this previous level, we have created a support, or kind of stalled right here, right at 1.30 100. Right, you can see boom, stalled, came back, boom, stalled, came back, support. Over here we use as resistance. So if we get that break below our final take profit 1.31 100, we do have another 100 pip target to this level, which meets right on top of our monthly trend line. And that monthly trend line, just show you guys, we drew this on Friday's session. Boom, boom, boom. First touch, second touch, third touch, and you can see how this could play out. So over the course of the next month, or the monthly closure, we could have this monthly candle squeeze all the way below inside this trend line. And in that case, it's going to be a major sell signal to go back down to these all-time lows. So that's pretty interesting, because if you remember on the start, even on Monday, this candle was pretty bullish, but right now it is kind of turning into a bearish candle. Now if sellers squeeze this candle in below, below this trend line, and it closes that way for the month of December, that's a very telltale sign of a bearish reversal. We can see In the past, when we had a bearish hammer being closed below the trend line, we get a sell-off. Even in the first point on the trend line, bearish closure on the hourly, a sell-off. So definitely a nice juicy setup that we can enter even at the start of the new year. But thankfully we got some of the move right now, and obviously bank some profits. It is the last trading week of the year. Last week was so. Hopefully this 180 pips kind of offsets that and puts you back in a positive for the last 8 days. And yeah, nothing else to say. We do have this hourly support. If you look at our levels, they're drawn methodically. You can see why it's a good support. And so that's where our final take profit is. Closure below, most likely going to send us to this trend line / 1.3100. So that's pound dollar. Kind of mad I didn't catch it. Let me say morning to all the peeps. And at this point, I'm going to kind of shift my focus to crude, crypto, Tezos, and any pair recommendations if anyone has. And then we can send this session off. It's pretty good. On a Monday, we're up 180 pips. So that's great for us, especially on the, basically last week of the year. So let's take a look.
Hi, my name is Maybarak, founder of TradeNet, the world's...
Whoa. Pop-ups. Let's look at crude oil. Ooh. Cool. So the last time we looked at crude oil, we were waiting for that short. We never got it, but crude oil has made a nice rally. Damn. Remember when we had the potential long? 60.83 was the target. It's currently resting right there, and wow, crude oil could probably go make some new highs for the year. Start off the year right here. This is a target. So we're right now at 60.83 per barrel. The next target, in my opinion, is 63.00 per barrel. This could be a pretty solid setup. So we are at resistance, obviously. You can see right here. In the past, we did have a huge wick through this resistance. I think this was when the Saudi oil tankers got bombed. Might not be, but something like this did happen. Anyways, but we're just waiting for that bearish closure above 60.83. Right now, we're just resting below. If in the next 8 or so hours, we do have a 4-hour candle above. The risk to reward, on commodities in general, the risk to reward is always great because I have to sneeze. Oh, I thought I had to sneeze. Okay, the reason why is just because price is also driven by these levels. It's also driven by political and economic factors as well. So this is where the term psychological level comes into play. And for example, 63.00 per barrel is a nice psychological level. And any bullish closure, and when I mean bullish closure, I'll once again tell you this candle right here is a bullish closure. So is this one. This one is not. This one depends where it comes, but usually within a trend it's bullish. This one's bullish. This is an indecision candle. That's why after the next candle you see a bearish candle, bullish candle, indecision candle, and that's why you had the next bearish candle printed. Indecision candle, bearish candle. See, this is what I mean. This is a hammer, but not all hammers means buy. Please look to target. If you have a big account, and if you're okay with entering a commodity during the last week, 63.21 is a decent target. With a stop just below 0.40. If you're looking for something in the near term, maybe to enter later today, keep an eye for crude oil. If you have a small account, please do not bother, because even if you use quote-unquote risk management, which you can't really when you enter oil on a small account, it can still do damage to your account. So keep an eye for crude oil longs. Yeah, pretty solid. and stop 60.40, and I'd say your entry would probably be around that 61.00 per barrel. Maybe have a take profit at 61.50. Every 50 or so pips, just so you're not overly exposed. So just trying to give this to you guys. So entry somewhere here, first take profit, and you can do it every 50 or so pips. That way, just not overexposed. So 50, 50, that's 100, and then another 50, that's 200, and then boom, 150, 200. So pretty solid. And stop loss is only 40 pips. So that's pretty good if you ask me. Anyways, pair conditions. All right, good. Let's take a look at crypto. So as always, we'll start off with Bitcoin and Coinbase. Right, it's Coinbase. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Let's go. Bitcoin drop, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Finally, after breaking the trend line and just consolidating, it's finally past our first take profit, 6,800. And 6,000 is in sight. I think the next target will probably be 6,500, which is probably the last place it stalled, the last swing low. I don't want to put too many horizontal lines, but just for Bitcoin's sake, this is the next target, 6,520, and then 6,000. Hopefully we get there by January 1st. Hopefully we get there by New Year's. If we get there by New Year's, we're in good shape. We're in good shape. So, bada bing, bada boom. Let's do it. Solid. If you're shorting Bitcoin, just keep at it. If you're holding Bitcoin, might be time to liquidate those assets into cash. Whatever you can liquidate. XTZ USD, which is the new crypto we're kind of looking at, and we also have a short play in mind. And currently it's on its way. So we had the long play, which played up pretty nicely. Short play, looking at $1.50, kind of nice psychological level, and it was right near our past swing low. So you can see, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right here, and then higher high, higher low. So I do think we're just gonna come back down here, and at that point you can see what kind of reaction we have. So illustrating this, $1.50 is right around here. Come down here, any closure below probably headed back down to here. Any sort of rebounding could take us back to this blue zone. So crypto, Forex, commodities, this strategy and that mindset, that the mental ability is all it takes to get these profits. So at this point, let me just go back to the Bitcoin chart because it just looks too beautiful. I'm going to talk about a very important aspect of trading. I think it's really relevant just because of the time of the year we're at. And so we've talked about, like the trading hours and, why you really shouldn't trade December. But you have to understand we went through 11 months of trading, right? And now we're on our 12th month. So right now I'm going to talk about how to stay motivated as a trader. We go through basically 11 to even 12 months of trading a year. Countless hours spent in front of the chart, every day a few hours here and there, looking at your trades and managing your trades, looking at fundamental releases, Forex Factory, Daily FX, reading articles. We do this 5 days a week for 11 to almost 12 months of a year. How do you stay motivated? How do you stay focused? Well, you have to ask yourself why you're trading. So if you're just trading because you're rich and you're already rich and you have, daddy's money to play around with, and you're just gambling, then you don't need that type of focus to be checking charts and doing analysis. But if you're trading to just create financial freedom at some point in your life, or just to create an extra source of income, then that's your motivation right there. Because trading could bring in, could pay your bills. If you have a big enough account size, I said this before, maybe depending on where you live, but like a $10,000 account size, and you aim for, like 10% a month, $1,000 could pay rent in some places. Obviously not in Toronto. because that's out of the question. But in some places that could pay rent plus food, and then you can kind of like expand that out. If you have a 50K account, 5%, 5K could pay very well a nice rent for a nice condo, your bills, your expenses. So, everyone wants to get to that point where they have a good chunk of money saved and they're trading it with a good strategy, and that's their main source of income. So that's the goal for me personally, is doing that. And for you, it might be the same thing, or you might enjoy your day job, but you just need an extra source of income. And you don't want to invest in an ETF or TFSA just because it's the interest is so low. You're looking for something a bit more aggressive. Then this is why you're trading. This is why you're putting the time, because all it takes is for a trader to figure it out. Because honestly, when it comes to trading, it's part of it's strategy, part of it's emotion, and part of it's just intuition. Just having a sixth sense for a trade, entering it, getting out of it, passing on a trade, adding another position on a winner, like when to take profits. There's an intuition in that only comes through experience. So you have to put in that time on the charts, because it's not going to come easy. Because you read the stat. 90% of traders lose their money. Only 10% make profits, and that's factual. And the reason is because that 90%, they're all doing the same thing. Poor risk management. They're trying to flip accounts. Don't have a real strategy. Their trading strategy changes every other day or every other week. They don't seem consistent. That 10%, they exist, and I know a bunch of them, and they all share a common thing, right? And those are the things I listed. So that's your motivation to someday where you don't have to clock in at your job at the warehouse or be an accountant. You can be a trader. You can wake up, drink your coffee, go on, Forex Factory Daily Effects, read what happened during the London session, go on the charts, look what trades you want to enter the trades. During the day, do your hobbies such as painting, biking, art, coding, whatever. And at the end of the day, or if you're intraday trader, at the end of the day, you can close out your trades and profit, and then a portion of your rent or your expenses are paid for, and you can be traveling and whatever. So that is the goal, but you just have to see what motivates you, and keep that in memory. If you need a logbook or some sort of journal where you plot down your trades and you try to keep yourself motivated of why you're trading, go ahead and do that. But this does not come easy, because everyone will be doing it. That's why a lot of people sell signals, and not too many people manage actual funds, because it's easy to do one thing, but it's harder to do the other. And that's just how you stay motivated. So during this time of reflection, during the next week when the markets are closed, try to just refresh your mind, because you might think, I'm not doing enough on the charts. But really, the charts will be closed for a week, and then you have another 11 months of a new year to trade. So there's a lot of work to be put in 2020, but you also have to work smart and as well as work hard. So now is the time to kind of take a step back, realize what your goals are, why you're doing what you're doing, and that's how you stay motivated and focused. So little, kind of a trader psychology session / lesson today, but I think it's important for important concept for the end of the year. So with that being said, I will be checking out now. We have some solid setups on the charts. Crude oil, gold, and euro are still pending. Pound USD should pretty much be out of. It's about to hit its final take profit. Bitcoin's looking good to short. XTC or Tezos is looking to go to 150, and it's looking pretty good. I am studying 14 hours of the day for a CFA exam, so I'm pretty much checked out. So please rely on maybe TradingView alerts. Just right click on a price point, click alert, and they'll let you know when a price has went down to a level, but it won't enter you in a trade, and that way you can keep track of what I said during the session, and you guys can enter those trades. But I think by now most of you have built that ability to enter the trades on your own, so that's great. Anyways, have a great day, guys. Peace. I'm Forex. I'm logging off.